You are surrounded by fools, and the most dangerous part is not their ignorance, it is your reaction to it. You believe your intelligence is your advantage, but in these interactions, it quietly becomes your greatest liability. Because every time you try to explain something simple to someone incapable of understanding, you lose energy, not them. And the more you try to correct them, the deeper you sink into a trap designed perfectly for people like you. The modern world teaches you to communicate better, to educate others, to use logic to find common ground with everyone. It sounds noble, it sounds intelligent, but in reality, it is one of the fastest ways to drain your mental strength. Arthur Schopenhauer understood something brutal that most people are too polite to admit openly. People do not argue to find truth, they argue to protect their ego and dominate the social hierarchy. You have experienced this already, maybe in a meeting, maybe online, maybe with someone you cannot easily avoid. You hear someone speak confidently about something they clearly do not understand, and your mind immediately sees the flaws. You gather facts, structure your thoughts, and present your argument with clarity, expecting at least minimal recognition. Instead, they resist harder, they double down, and somehow you walk away feeling more exhausted than before. This is the intelligence trap, projecting your own logic onto someone who does not operate within the same system. You assume they value truth, but they do not, they value certainty, dominance, and emotional comfort above everything else. Psychology calls this the Dunning-Kruger effect, but understanding the label is not enough to protect you. Because stupidity is not passive, it is active, defensive, and extremely resistant to any form of correction or challenge. When you introduce logic, they do not process it as information, they process it as an attack on their identity. And the human ego would rather destroy reality than accept the idea that it might be wrong about something. So while you are trying to solve a problem, they are trying to win a battle you did not even realize existed. Daniel Kahneman explained that the human mind operates through two systems, fast emotional thinking and slow logical thinking. You operate primarily through logic, but they are locked into emotional reactions that require almost no effort to maintain. So while you are burning energy constructing arguments, they are simply rejecting them without spending any effort at all. This imbalance is why you always feel drained, because you are carrying the entire weight of the interaction alone. Schopenhauer's solution was not to argue better, but to stop playing the game entirely and change the rules. Instead of confronting stupidity directly, you redirect it, amplify it, and let it collapse under its own weight naturally. When someone presents a flawed idea, your instinct is to oppose it, but that instinct is exactly what traps you. Because opposition creates friction, and friction feeds the ego of the person you are trying to defeat intellectually. So you do something unexpected, something almost counterintuitive, you agree with them, but you take it further than they can handle. You validate their idea completely, then push it to its extreme conclusion where it becomes obviously ridiculous. Not by attacking them, but by following their logic so perfectly that it exposes itself without your direct confrontation. This forces them into a position where they must either defend the absurd or retreat without realizing why they lost. And in that moment, you conserve your energy while allowing their own reasoning to dismantle itself quietly. You did not win by proving them wrong, you won by making their argument collapse under its own weight. But this strategy requires something difficult, you must let go of your need to be recognized as correct. Because intelligent people are addicted to being right, to seeing others acknowledge their clarity and understanding openly. And that need is exactly what keeps you trapped in endless, pointless debates with people who cannot validate you anyway. Why do you need a fool to agree with you? Why do you seek validation from someone incapable of understanding your position? Once you remove that need, something changes, you stop reacting, and you start observing instead of engaging emotionally. You stop giving them access to your attention, and without your energy, their arguments lose their entire purpose. This leads to a darker realization: stupidity is not just frustrating, it is contagious if you engage with it long enough. The more time you spend navigating irrational thinking, the more your own clarity begins to erode slowly over time. Your brain becomes overloaded, trying to predict unpredictable behavior, and eventually your own decisions begin to suffer. Schopenhauer understood this: which is why he was extremely selective about who he allowed into his intellectual space. He treated interactions like a resource exchange, calculating whether the engagement would produce value or drain energy. Because every conversation is a transaction, and most people are trading noise while expecting you to provide clarity. So you create distance, not physically always, but psychologically, separating your mind from their chaos completely. You interact when necessary, but you do not invest emotionally, you do not expose your true thinking to them anymore. You develop what can only be described as an intellectual shield, a controlled presence that reveals very little. You become polite, agreeable, even slightly passive on the surface, while internally remaining completely detached and aware. You let them speak, you let them believe they are correct, and you give them nothing they can use against you. Because the moment you stop reacting, they lose interest, and without resistance, their need to dominate disappears. But the real danger appears when the fool is not just present, but in a position of authority over your life. When the irrational mind holds power, logic becomes even more dangerous, because it threatens their fragile sense of control. If you challenge them openly, they will not debate you, they will undermine you, discredit you, and quietly remove you. History has shown this pattern repeatedly. Intelligence exposed too openly in the presence of insecure power becomes a threat. So you adapt, not by becoming less intelligent, but by becoming more strategic in how you reveal your intelligence. You do not display it constantly, you conceal it, using it only when necessary, at the exact moment it matters most. You allow them to feel superior, you let them believe they are in control, because that illusion keeps you safe. And while they are distracted by their own ego, you operate freely, making decisions without interference or resistance. This is not weakness, it is precision, understanding when to engage and when to withdraw completely from the situation. Because power is not about proving you are right, it is about controlling outcomes without unnecessary exposure or conflict. Eventually, something shifts inside you, you stop trying to fix people, you stop trying to educate those who resist understanding. You accept that not everyone can be saved, not everyone wants clarity, and not everyone deserves your energy. And when you reach that point, interactions change, not because people become smarter, but because you stop participating. You observe more, speak less, and move through conversations without leaving pieces of your energy behind. This is the true advantage of intelligence, not the ability to win arguments, but the ability to avoid unnecessary ones entirely. Because the moment you stop trying to prove yourself to those who cannot understand you, you reclaim your focus. And that focus is what separates you, not your knowledge, not your logic, but your ability to protect your own mind. Because in a world full of noise, the most powerful thing you can do is remain untouched by it.